Good morning, everybody. We're at week 5. That's more than halfway through this little term, so I know that you're in the full swing of things, and I can tell, actually, by your writing that you are in full swing of everything. You're doing really, really good job on almost everything. Well, everything. This week, we sort of segue from your interview with the court personnel into a related field, which is the balancing of court efficiency, usually the job of courtroom personnel, with the primary purpose of a court, which is to provide justice for the parties. Whether it's in a civil case and where two private parties are suing each other and each one hopes to come away with a just result, or in a criminal case when the prosecution hopes to have an accused found guilty and the defendant hopes to be found not guilty. Both of those will view justice as their primary goal. The judge also views justice as the primary goal, as do all of the courtroom participants, except possibly the clerk, whose job is to maintain the efficiency of the court itself. Courts, generally in these financially strapped days, are working with very limited budgets, and so they have to have their limited resources in mind whenever they do anything, whenever they decide to adopt a new electronic method of filing or an electronic method of record keeping, whether it is more efficient for them to transition gradually into these newer electronic-based methods or to keep the old paper-based methods for a while. Not all courts have the financial means to effect a sudden, abrupt change from the old methods of doing everything on paper to the new computer-based, online especially, methods of filing and maintaining their schedules and calendars and dockets. They have to have their limited resources in mind. And that's what you're going to be learning about this week. You're going to be learning about the methods that federal courts and state courts use to maintain their records, to file cases as they come in, to file motions, to file all of the thousands of papers that are very much a part of the American judicial system. Are those papers actually paper on hard copy, or are they computer files? Are they electronic files? In most localities across the United States, those records are now electronic files, which is wonderful because that makes them accessible not just in the physical confines of the clerk's office, but also from remote locations. If you're sitting in front of your computer 500 miles from a clerk's office, you can still access the records in a case if you have permission to do so. Most of the time you have to subscribe to a certain access portal, let me put it that way, so that you can maintain and access those records. Some records are accessible by the general public, but most are not. They actually require a paid subscription of some kind. And the payment of those subscriptions helps the court offices defer the expenses of maintaining those very expensive electronic systems. That's what you're going to be learning about this week. The discussion board will ask you to employ what you've learned in your readings and choose 3 of the points or methods that you've learned about and compare how they help a court administration, a court system, become more efficient. Or perhaps your opinion will be that they don't make a court more efficient, that the old ways might be better. Whatever your opinion is, once it's informed by the readings, then you'll discuss that in the discussion board. That same consideration carries over to your written assignment this week, which is milestone 2. Anytime you see the word milestone, you know that it's a stepping stone to your final project. Milestone 2 might seem a little artificial to you, to be frank, because what you're going to be asked to do in Milestone 2 is relate these methods of judicial efficiency, calendaring methods, docketing methods, to our final project case scenario. That won't be readily apparent to you, probably. You're going to have to do a little mental maneuvering to relate the calendaring method and the docketing methods to our final project case. But you can do it. I know you can, because you're bright people. I've already learned that from your writing. Now, you'll have 3 new vocabulary words that are not going to seem new vocabulary words to you at all. And those are docketing, calendaring, and continuances, all very common English words, but in the context of a court, they take on different meanings. A calendar is the schedule of daily events that are coming up before a judge or a court. They might be motions, they might be pretrial conferences, they might be trials, of course, they might be post-trial motions or sentencing recommendations. Lots of things come up on a calendar, but that's the daily schedule of what a court is going to do. A docket, on the other hand, is the list of cases that will come before a court within a given term, which is a period of time bounded by a beginning and an end. The docket is sort of an aspirational list of the cases the court will hear within a certain term. Sometimes cases have to be carried over to the next term if there isn't time to hear them all. Continuance, obviously, is a word that you know. You know how to continue something. You start something and it goes on, and that's a continuance. Well, in the context of a court, it has another meaning, and it really means postponement. When an attorney asks that an event be continued, and it might be a trial or it might be a motion, it might be a sentencing hearing, what that means is that you're asking that the event be postponed to a later date. And that seems very simple, but once a schedule has been reached, asking that an event be postponed or continued will throw that schedule completely out of whack, and will actually have to mean that the event will have to be inserted into the schedule for the next period of time. So you're going to be asked how those motions for continuance might affect court efficiency, but how also that they might affect justice. Because please remember as you do these readings and writings, that the court's primary purpose is to dispense justice. It isn't to be efficient. But a court can't dispense justice if it isn't using its limited resources efficiently, because it will cease to exist. It won't be able to pay its participants. So you have to, or you don't, but a court has to balance efficiency with justice. And that's what we're learning about this week. As you go forward with your discussion board topic and your milestone, if you have any difficulties, if you need to have things clarified, you know I'm always here. Send me an email, write a post on the general discussion board, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. My voice is failing as it continues to do. I'm so sorry. I'm still battling this ear problem and throat problem, but I thank you for your patience. And I will see you in the discussion boards. Bye.